Good morning, second grade. As we begin a new week, and we're all done with Halloween, and we're into November, and you know what holiday comes next? Yes, that's right, Thanksgiving. And every year, I always like to share this Junie B. Jones book with the second graders. As you know, some of you are familiar with Junie B., but Junie B. is right now a first grader, and a very typical first grader. She has some words that make up her own language. She shares her thoughts, and sometimes they may be not the most correct thoughts that she's thinking or sharing, but there are pretty cool reads, and it's a pretty cool Thanksgiving story that I like to share with you. The series is written by Barbara Park. Unfortunately, Barbara Park died in 2013, so all the books that she had written up to that point is probably the only Junie B's that we would see in the collection. Okay, this one is called Junie B., first grader, Turkeys We Have Loved and Eaten and Other Thankful Stuff by Barbara Park. And it is illustrated by Denise Brunkus. So as I say, sit back and relax and enjoy as we begin the Junie B. story, her Thanksgiving one. Chapter 1, The Contest. And she's writing in her journal. Monday. Dear first grade journal, today is the month of Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving, we draw a lot of turkeys. Also, we draw pilgrims and Native Americans. They are eating at a table, usually. And there she is at her desk, writing in her journal with a picture of her turkey, her girl pilgrim, and her boy pilgrim. Both of them seem to enjoy squash. I do not actually understand pilgrims. Their costumes look hottish and sweatish. This week, Room 1 is making a list of the stuff we are thankful for. After we get done, we will put our list in a school contest, and the room with the bestest thankful list will win. Also, we're having a Thanksgiving feast on Wednesday. Our families get to come to school. Thanksgiving is a lot of work. Your friend, Junie B., first grader. I closed my journal and thought about squash. Bluck, I said out loud. I hate squash. May did a frown. Shh, Junie Jones, can't you see that I'm still writing, she said. May is the girl who sits next to me. I am not thankful for her. Just then my teacher, Mr. Scary, stood up at his desk. Boys and girls, it's time to get started on our thankful list for the school contest, he said. Can everyone please put your journals away? Yes, we shouted back. Yes, yes, yes. Then all the children slammed our journals shut, very happy. Slam, 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 bam, slam, slam, bam. Mr. Scary sucked in his cheeks at us. He made us open our journals again, and we had to shut them quietly. It was some sort of slamming lesson, I believe. Finally, he moved on. Okay, last night's homework was to write down some of the things that you're thankful for, he said. He picked up a piece of chalk. Today I will start printing our thankful list on the board, he said. We will work on the list today and tomorrow, and then we will enter it in the school thankful contest. A boy named Roger raised his hand. Do we get a prize if we win? He asked. I always try harder if there's a prize involved. Mr. Scary did a frown at him. We're not doing this for a prize, Roger, he said. We're doing this to celebrate the things we are thankful for. Roger tapped his fingers on his desk. So, is that a yes or no to the prize? He asked. Mr. Scary stood there a minute. Then all of a sudden a smile came on his face. We did not expect that. Okay, fine, Roger, he said. I was going to let this be a surprise if we won, but yes, there is a prize for winning the contest. All of Room 1 perked up our ears. 'Cause who doesn't like prizes, of course? What is it? What is it? What is it? We called out. What is the prize? Tell us, tell us, tell us. Mr. Scary walked back and forth, very thinking. He said he was really not supposed to tell us the surprise. But then, he did a wink. And he told us anyway. The winning class is going to get a homemade pumpkin pie, he said. And he smiled real big. And here is the best part. The pie will be made by our very own lunch lady, Mrs. Gladys Gutzman. After that, all of the children just sat there, and we didn't say any words. Instead, our faces turned kind of sickish, and we slumped way down in our chairs. Finally, I raised my hand. Pumpkin pie makes me vomit, I said. My friend Herbert nodded. Oh, me too, he said. Pumpkin pie makes me vomit, too. Me 3, said my other friend named Shirley. Oh, me 4, said a boy named Lenny. My grandmother's pumpkin pie sits in my mouth like a big wad of goop glop. Roger looked at Mr. Scary. A prize that makes us vomit doesn't seem like much to shoot for, he said. Mr. Scary sat down at his desk and rubbed his head. Okay, let's forget about the pie, he said. Really, this contest is not about winning a pie. This contest is about appreciating all the wonderful things in the world that we're thankful for. He looked around the room. If we're lucky enough to win, the real prize will be how proud we'll feel about doing our best, he said. A first grade class has never won this contest before, but I think this class has a great chance. You are definitely the most creative first graders I've ever had. Roger stood up. Now, that I believe, he said. My brother Rodney was in your class last year, and Rodney is adult. Mr. Scary closed his eyes, and then he rubbed his head some more. This was not going to be a good morning, probably. Chapter 2. Some Thankfuls. Mr. Scary moved on again. Okay, boys and girls, let's really get started now. If you'll please take out your homework papers, we'll begin sharing our ideas. Who would like to go first? I quick pulled out my homework. Me, I shouted, 'cause I have 4 excellent thankfuls, and I'm not even kidding. Then I sprang up like a spring, and I started to ring my thankful list. First, I am thankful for the turkey I love at Thanksgiving. Second, I enjoy the gravy. Plus, number 3, I am thankful for the kind of cranberry jelly that comes in a can. Only, even when you take it out of the can, it still keeps looking exactly like the can. I looked at my teacher. That stuff is magic, I said. I do not know how farmers grow it in that shape. Mr. Scary stared at me a really long time. I looked back at my list. Oh, wait, and here's my favorite one of all, he said. I am thankful for the kind of biscuits that come in a can and then you bash them on the counter and they come out exploding and everyone jumps. Plus also my brother Ollie starts to cry and I grinned really big. That is just a fun bunch of biscuits. My friend Herbert jumped out of his seat. I can't believe it, Junie B. I am thankful for those biscuits too, he said. He quick grabbed his homework page and held it up. Look, see? It's right here on my paper. Exploding biscuits. After that, me and Herb did a high 5 and a low 5 and a medium 5. Also, we did a fist bump. A fist bump is when you knock your knuckles together. Sometimes it can be painful. May threw her head back at us. Oh, no, she said. That cannot be true. Both of you did not write that by yourselves. You copied each other. I know you did. Who in the world is thankful for exploding biscuits? And all of the children thought for a second. Then one by one, they all started to shout. And there they are, Junie B. with her friend doing the fist bump. Because they both said exploding biscuits. I am too, they shouted. My friend named Sheldon Potts sprang up from his chair. Me too, he called. One time I ate 6 exploding biscuits right out of the tube, and they weren't even cooked yet. All of our eyes popped out of our heads, 'cause that was the greatest exploding biscuit story we had ever heard. We looked back at Mr. Scary. His eyes were stuck on Sheldon. You're a fascinating little boy, Sheldon Potts, he said. Yes, I know. You keep telling me that, said Sheldon. Mr. Scary smiled. Then he turned to the board, and he wrote the words, Thankful List. Okay, Junie B., how about if you pick out your 2 top favorites, and we'll start the list off with them. Oh, I stared at my paper, very thinking. Then I told him my 2 favorites, and Mr. Scary printed them on the board. Number 1, cranberry jelly in a can, and number 2, exploding biscuits. He took a step back. Well, just as I thought, we are off to a very interesting start, he said, and he turned back to room 1. As we continue, if you've brought a long list, please just pick the 2 things you are the most thankful for, okay? Okay, we shouted back. My friend named Lenny waved his hand to go next. All right, Lenny, your turn. Tell us the number 1 thing in your life that you are the most thankful for. Lenny yelled it out. Nipsy Doodles, he said really loud. I love Nipsy Doodles. Mr. Scary's face went funny. He did not move for a minute. Then finally his eyebrows raised to the top of his head. Nipsy Doodles? Len? He repeated kind of quiet. Really? That's the number 1 thing in your life that you're thankful for? Nipsy Doodles? And Lenny nodded. Then he checked his homework just to be sure. Yes, he said, Nipsy Doodles, it's number 1. And he smiled. They are tasty little cheese snack, unlike any other. Mr. Scary nodded very slow. Yes, I know, Lenny. I've heard the commercial, and I'm sure they're very tasty, but just out of curiosity, what is number 2 on your list? Lenny's face started to beam. Number 2, rainbow sprinkles, he yelled. All of room 1 started to clap, because the whole world loves rainbow sprinkles, of course. Mr. Scary did not move again. Then finally he picked up the chalk and he added Lenny's 2 thankful things to the list. Number 3, Nipsy Doodles. Number 4, rainbow sprinkles. He stepped back and took a big breath. Oh, righty then. Let's take another look at what we have here so far, he said. We have 4 delicious food items, don't we? But just remember, there are other things to be thankful for too. Right, boys and girls? Right, we said. We thought, but like what, we said. Mr. Scary chuckled. Well, for one thing, in our country we're lucky to have freedom, he said. Freedom is one reason the Pilgrims came to America. And he looked around the room. Did anyone put freedom on their thankful list? All of the children looked at their lists. Then everyone shook their heads no. Roger stood up again. We're only 6 years old, he said. We don't really have any freedom. And he thought for a second. I'm not even allowed to cross the street by myself. Me neither, said Shirley. I have to stay in my own front yard. Jose raised his hand. I have to go to bed at 7:30, and half the time it's still light outside. Herbert stood up too. Well, wait till you hear this one. I have to eat cooked carrots, or I don't get a cookie after dinner, he said. Just then Sheldon slapped his hand on his desk and he shouted really loud. And I am forced to take a multivitamin, he hollered. Does that sound like freedom? Mr. Scary quick held up his hand. Okay, calm down, everyone. I get it, he said. He looked back at our thankful list. Then he nodded at us, very thoughtful. Boys and girls, you are absolutely right. You are first graders, and you can be thankful for whatever you want, he said. This list should be exactly what you want it to be. Not me, not the contest judges, not anyone else but you. And he smiled. Thanks for showing me that, he said. Oh, you're welcome, we shouted back. We are a very polite group. Mr. Scary looked happy again. All right, who would like to go next, he said. And remember, whatever you say will be perfectly fine with me. Sheldon jumped up. Toilet paper? I am thankful for toilet paper, he shouted. Mr. Scary's eyes got big and wide, but he quick snapped out of it, and he printed the words on the board. Number 5, toilet paper, he said. Sheldon grinned, really excited. Oh, we are going to win this contest for sure, he said. He did a thumbs up at room 1. Then all of us did a thumbs up back. Oh, except not actually Mr. Scary. Number 3, thankful. Chapter 3, thankful bags. We're writing in our journal again. It's Tuesday. Dear first grade journal, Today is still the month of Thanksgiving, but hooray, hooray, we are going to have show and tell for the whole entire day today. That is because yesterday Mr. Scary gave us thankful bags to take home with us, and today we had to bring them back with something we are thankful for. We're keeping them a secret till show and tell. I brought something that I love very much. Here's a helpful hint. It is not my brother Ollie, your friend, Junie B., first grader. I put down my pencil and I looked around the room. All the children had their thankful bags next to their chairs. Some of the bags looked empty-ish, and some of them looked full-ish. My thankful bag looked, well, middle-ish. I picked it up and I put it on my desk. Then I leaned over and I tapped on May's arm. My thankful bag is middle-ish, I said, real pleasant-like. May did not pay any attention to me. And you can see her doing that right there where she's tap, tap, tap. And May and Junie B don't get along too well. May did not pay any attention to me. I tapped her on her arm again. You're probably wondering what is in my bag, but I cannot tell you. On account of it, it has to stay a surprise until show and tell, I said. May turned her back on me. This time I tapped her on the head. Helpful hint. It's not my brother Ollie, I said. Just then May exploded out of her seat and she tattletaled real loud. Mr. Scary, Junie Jones will not stop bothering me, she hollered. Mr. Scary frowned his eyebrows at me. I waved my fingers very friendly like. Hello, how are you today? I am fine, I said. I was just showing May my thankful bag. I held it up in the air. It is middle-ish, I said. Mr. Scary kept on frowning. I put my bag on my desk and I folded my hands very polite. Okay, guess that about wraps it up, I said. Mr. Scary got a teensy smile on his face. Sometimes he enjoys me, I believe. Pretty soon he stood up at his desk and he clapped his loud hands together. Okay, boys and girls, it's time to get started with our very special day of show and tell, he said. Please put your journals away and arrange your chairs in a circle. And we slammed our journals shut. Slam, slam, bam, slam, bam, slam, slam, bam. Mr. Scary sucked in his cheeks at us. We quick opened our journals again and we shut them very quiet. After that, we put our chairs in a circle and we got ready for a whole entire day of show and tell. Woohoo, I said to Herbert, this is a dream come true. A whole entire day with no learning. Herb clapped and laughed. I wish every day had no learning, he said. Me too, I said. If every day had no learning, school would be a lot more popular. May butted into our conversation. Well, I am thankful for learning, she said. There is nothing I like better than learning, learning, learning. After that, she started skipping around her chair. I did a glare at her. Here's a suggestion, I said. Why don't you skip on home? May stuck out her tongue at me. There was no need for that, I believe. Just then, Mr. Scary clapped his hands again. Okay, everyone, he said. Make sure you have your thankful bags at your chairs, and please take a seat. All of us got our bags and sat down. Good job, he said. It looks like we're ready to begin. I can't wait to see what kind of wonderful things you're thankful for. And he pointed to Roger. Roger, would you like to start us off, he said. Roger's face looked sickish. Why, he said. Oh, why me? I didn't even raise my hand. Mr. Scary smiled. I know you didn't, Roger, he said. I just thought you might like to start us off, that's all. Roger did a gulp. Oh, he said. Well, no, I wouldn't. Mr. Scary stopped smiling. Okay, it wasn't really a question, Roger, he explained. I would like you to go first. Roger's face got sweaty on it. He just kept sitting there. Mr. Scary crossed his arms at him. Roger, he said, we're waiting. Finally, Roger did a big, deep breath. Then he stood up real slow and he picked up his thankful bag. It looked empty-ish. Mostly I'm thankful for this thankful bag, he said, and he held it out in front of him, and he gave it a little shake. I don't know why I like this bag so much, but I'm just really, really thankful for it, he said. And he did a pause. The end, he said. Then he quick sat back down. Mr. Scary frowned. Really, Roger? Seriously? He said. in your whole life, you're only thankful for the plastic bag I gave you yesterday? That's it? Roger stood up again. Oh, well, no, I mean, I'm thankful for other stuff too, he said. And Mr. Scary raised his eyebrows. Like? Roger's face got stressed in it. Like. He quick looked all around himself. Then all of a sudden he stretched out the bottom of his t-shirt. Oh, like this t-shirt I'm wearing, he said. I am very, very thankful for this t-shirt. Roger's face got sweatier. This t-shirt is, and he looked at it harder. White, he said finally. Mr. Scary nodded really slow. Yes, he said, we can see that, Roger. And Roger kept stretching his shirt. Then he turned up the bottom and he read us the tag. Machine washed warm. Lay flat to dry, he read. After that, he stretched out the back of the neck and read us that tag too. Boys size 6 to 8, he read. Made in... Mr. Scary quickly held up his hand. That's enough, Roger, he said, very sternish. Roger kept on standing there. Honduras, he said. Mr. Scary snapped his loud fingers. Roger sat down. Show and tell was not off to a good start. And we will end there and begin next week with chapter 4. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. And you can see how our friend Junie B kind of has her own kind of way of doing things and saying things. Okay? So we'll continue next week. Okay, till we see you then. Bye-bye.